90 minutes from history. That is the actual distance between Arsenal and becoming the first team in this club's entire existence to reach back-to-back Champions League semi-finals. Not a milestone that gets mentioned casually, a genuine entry in the record books that no Arsenal side has ever achieved. And it arrives on a Wednesday night at the Emirates, 4 days before the most important Premier League fixture of the season at the Etihad. The context of this week cannot be overstated. 3 defeats in the last 4 games across all competitions. A Premier League lead cut from 9 points to 6 in a single weekend. 5 first-team players absent or doubtful. And yet here Arsenal stand 1 goal to the good in a Champions League quarter-final at home in front of their own supporters, with history sitting right there waiting to be taken. Before getting into the tactical detail, the historical numbers around this specific situation deserve to be front and centre because they are genuinely remarkable. Arsenal have won 17 of their last 18 two-legged European ties when holding an away victory from the first leg. 17 from 18. That is not a stat to be nervous about. That is a stat that should settle the anxiety that has been building since Saturday afternoon. The numbers say this tie is Arsenal's to lose, not Sporting's to win. Beyond that, Arsenal have gone 8 home European games unbeaten against Portuguese opposition, winning 6 and drawing 2. The Emirates has been a consistent fortress when Portuguese clubs have made the trip to North London. And then there is the most significant piece of context of all. Sporting CP have never in their entire European history overturned a 1-goal deficit after losing the first leg away from home. Never. They have lost 13 of their last 14 two-legged European ties when conceding a home defeat in the opening game. The one exception was a comeback against Brøndby in the Europa League qualifiers back in 2010. That is the full extent of the historical precedent working against them. None of this means the job is done or that Arsenal can approach Wednesday with anything less than full intensity. Football ignores statistics the moment the ball is in play, but it does mean that every layer of historical evidence points in the same direction, and that direction is the Emirates reaching the semi-finals. Now to the team selection, which is the most significant and genuinely complicated part of this preview. David Raya starts in goal. Non-negotiable. His performance in the first leg in Lisbon was outstanding. 5 saves, a clean sheet, and a Player of the Match award that reflected how important he was to keeping the tie level before Havertz settled it in the 91st minute. He is the best goalkeeper in the Champions League this season by clean sheets, and he will be needed again tomorrow. William Saliba and Gabriel Magalhaes form the centre-back pairing, also non-negotiable. These two have been among the finest defensive partnerships in European football this season, and Sporting know exactly how difficult they are to break down because they tried for 90 minutes in Lisbon and found no way through. At right back, Ben White continues, carrying a heavy workload in Timber's prolonged absence. His performance against Bournemouth was below his usual standard, but with Timber still being assessed daily, there is no realistic alternative. At left back, the question is whether Calafiori or Timber are ready. Both are doubts. Piero Hincapié was an unused substitute on Saturday after returning from the hamstring concern he picked up with Ecuador during the international break. He appears fit enough to play, and if neither Calafiori nor Timber is cleared, the Ecuadorian international is the logical option on that left side. He brings physicality and experience at this level. In midfield, Declan Rice starts. That is given. His 12 hours of uncertainty following the Bournemouth landing injury have been among the most anxiety-inducing of this entire season for Arsenal supporters. He is the player who holds everything together in terms of tempo, transitions and defensive coverage, and his absence would fundamentally change Arsenal's capacity to control a European tie. Assuming he is past fit on Wednesday morning, he plays. Alongside him, the genuinely fascinating selection decision involves Zubimendi and Nørgaard. Both players are currently 1 yellow card away from suspension for the first leg of any potential Champions League semi-final. If either is booked tomorrow, they sit out the opening game of the next round. That is an enormous risk to carry into a tie of that magnitude. Arteta may well choose to manage that situation by starting Nørgaard and protecting Zubimendi, keeping the Spaniard available and fresh for the semi-final. Nørgaard impressed when he came into the side earlier in the season and is more than capable of handling a high-pressure European night at this level. The decision will tell us a great deal about how Arteta is thinking across this week rather than just this game. In the attacking positions, Eberechi Eze comes back into the starting 11. He returned from his fitness issue in time to feature against Bournemouth and will almost certainly be restored to the team tomorrow. What Eze offers is something genuinely different from anything else in Arsenal's attacking options. The directness, the ability to create something from nothing, the confidence to run at defenders in tight spaces. Sporting will have done their homework on him, but identifying his threat and containing it are two entirely different problems. Leandro Trossard is expected to start on the opposite flank, providing the pressing intensity, movement and technical quality that Arteta relies on in wide areas when the team needs to maintain structure and territory. And then there is Viktor Gyökeres. The narrative around tomorrow night is impossible to separate from what it means for him personally. Less than 12 months ago, he was the most beloved footballer in Portugal. 97 goals in 102 appearances for Sporting CP. Back-to-back Primeira Liga titles, the talisman around whom everything at that club revolved. When Sporting's president eventually agreed terms with Andrea Berta in what was reported as a deal worth £55 million with further add-ons, there were genuine tears from supporters who understood an era was ending. Now he walks out at the Emirates in red and white, and Sporting must try to stop the man they adored from eliminating them from the competition he once lit up in their colours. The reception he received in Lisbon in the first leg was genuinely extraordinary. Former teammates were generous in what they said publicly. There was warmth from supporters who understood the move and wished him well. And then Sporting tried everything for 90 minutes to keep him and Arsenal scoreless, and they very nearly did it. Tomorrow is the sequel, and tomorrow Gyökeres is at home. He has 15 goals across all competitions this season in his debut Premier League campaign. He has not always found it straightforward adapting to a new league, new teammates and different defensive structures, and Arteta himself acknowledged the time it takes to build the chemistry and understanding that unlocks a striker at the highest level. But the goals have come consistently enough to confirm what Arsenal believed when they signed him. Elite goal-scoring instincts do not disappear with a change of environment. Against the club he left, at the stadium that is now his home, the occasion and the motivation are as aligned as they could possibly be. Now it is important to be clear about the threat Sporting bring tomorrow, because dismissing them based on aggregate score and historical precedent would be a serious mistake. Rui Borges has built a team that functions with genuine cohesion. They are second in the Primeira Liga, chasing Porto into the final weeks of the season. They beat Paris Saint-Germain in this Champions League campaign. They came back from 3 goals down against Bodo Glimt in the round of 16, winning 5-0 on the night to progress on aggregate. This is a group of players who respond when the pressure is at its highest. The most significant addition to their squad for tomorrow compared to the first leg is Morten Hjulmand. The Danish captain was suspended for the game in Lisbon after accumulating bookings during the competition, and his absence was a meaningful factor in how that first leg played out. Without him, Rui Borges used Hidemasa Morita and Joel Simões in central midfield, and while they functioned adequately, the team simply was not the same. Hjulmand is the organising force in Sporting's engine room: physical presence, ground coverage, defensive protection. He set those standards at Brentford before moving to Portugal, and he is a top-level European midfielder. Arsenal's attackers will feel him tomorrow in a way they did not feel his replacements in Lisbon. Daniel Bragança is likely to start alongside him. The vice-captain scored the goal that beat Estrela Amadora at the weekend and has been one of Sporting's most important players throughout the season, offering technical quality and the ability to switch the point of attack quickly under pressure. Francisco Trincão provides genuine threat on the wing with his pace and unpredictability. Pedro Gonçalves brings goal threat and European experience. Jenny Katamo's energy and directness on the right side will pose real problems for whoever Arsenal play at left-back if concentration levels drop for even a moment. On Luis Suarez, it is worth being completely clear because there was significant confusion following the first leg. This is not the Uruguayan forward who played for Barcelona and Liverpool. This is Luis Javier Suarez, the 26-year-old Colombian international who signed for Sporting last summer specifically to fill the gap left by Gyökeres departing. He has done so in remarkable fashion. 33 goals in 43 appearances this season, 5 in the Champions League, including a brace against PSG. After the first leg, there were reports suggesting he had been booked, which would have triggered a suspension for Wednesday. UEFA investigated and confirmed it was an administrative error. The yellow card was actually issued to Hidemasa Morita. Suarez is available and Rui Borges has his main striker leading the line. That matters considerably for how dangerous Sporting can be tomorrow. Tactically, the fundamental dynamic is straightforward. Sporting need to score, they know that. A goalless draw sends Arsenal through, and Rui Borges will have to send his team forward with urgency from the first whistle. When teams are forced to attack in European football and commit numbers forward, space opens behind them, and that space is precisely where Arsenal's most dangerous moments will come. Gyökeres running channels against an exposed defence, Eze and Trossard, sharp enough to punish transitions, Rice reading the moment and releasing the ball at exactly the right time. Arsenal's challenge is to maintain defensive shape without being dragged into an open end-to-end game that plays to Sporting's strengths while remaining genuinely threatening on the counter. The first 30 minutes are critical. If Arsenal can stay compact and prevent Sporting from finding the momentum that an early goal would generate, the Emirates crowd, which will be exceptional tomorrow night, becomes a force working in Arsenal's favour rather than a source of pressure. If Sporting score early, everything changes. The tempo shifts, the crowd noise shifts, the tactical picture opens up in ways that become significantly harder to manage. Arteta's players need to be mentally prepared for every version of this game, not only the comfortable one. Set pieces are also a factor worth highlighting. Both clubs have shown real threat from dead ball situations in their European campaigns this season. Gabriel is an aerial presence at both ends. Ousmane Diomande and Gonçalo Inacio are physical and intelligent at set pieces going the other way, and Arsenal cannot afford to switch off in those moments, given the defensive absences they are managing. The bigger picture of this week also needs to be addressed honestly. City cut the gap to 6 points at the weekend and still have a game in hand. Sunday's fixture at the Etihad is now a match that could define the entire season. Win it and the momentum swings back decisively. Lose it and the questions Arsenal supporters have been managing all season become significantly harder to suppress. But Wednesday is separate. It needs to be approached as its own challenge with its own reward. And that reward, consecutive Champions League semi-finals for the first time in the club's history, is something worth treating as its own priority, regardless of what follows. There is also a psychological dimension here that should not be underestimated. Players who know they are still competing in the semi-finals of the Champions League carry themselves differently heading into a title-deciding league game. There is a confidence that comes from performing at the highest level in Europe under pressure that nothing else in football quite replicates. A convincing performance tomorrow, the kind that puts the tie to bed and sends the Emirates home with the belief fully restored, could be exactly the galvanising force this squad needs before the Etihad on Sunday. Arteta understands this dynamic better than most. He has been building toward exactly this kind of week throughout his tenure at the club. The prediction is Arsenal 1, Sporting 1, Arsenal progressing 2-1 on aggregate. A Sporting goal that makes it briefly nervous, an Emirates crowd that responds with real noise, and a moment of quality from an Arsenal player that closes the tie out. Gyökeres, against his former club on this stage, at this moment feels like a script that was always going to be written. Whether football follows it is entirely another matter, but the foundations are in place. The history points in one direction. The squad, even carrying these injuries, has the quality and the character to see this through. 90 minutes from history. Come on, Arsenal.